Each time I touch a rose petal and breathe the sweet fragrance it brings, I know there's a God up in heaven. No human could create these things. The dogwood, the oak, and the willow, so gracefully wave in the breeze. The dogwood I'll always remember. My Lord died upon one of these. The sunset in its golden splendor, the colors no artist can do. I know when I look on its beauty, each page in the Bible is true. No picture or painting can capture the beauty of any of these. The handwork of God is revealed in the flowers, the sunset, the trees. No picture or painting can capture the beauty of any of these. The handwork of God is revealed in the flowers, the sunset, the trees. The handwork of God is revealed in the flowers, the sunset, the trees. Ring of gold and gift of silver, on this day I give to you. When our vows we'll seal forever, with those simple words I do. May our ties remain unbroken, and our words be never cold. So take my gift of silver and wear my ring of gold. With this ring I'm proud to place upon your finger, to seal our love on this our wedding day. And the years we have, we'll see them out together, and we'll face whatever trials may come our way. Ring of gold and gift of silver, on this day I give to you. When our vows we'll seal forever, with those simple words I do. May our ties remain unbroken, and our words be never cold. So take my gift of silver is my bond through life, and this I promise you. From this day, what's mine will be as yours now, darling. You're my wife, and all I'll need to see me through. Ring of gold and gift of silver, on this day I give to you. When our vows we'll seal forever, with those simple words I do. May our ties remain unbroken, and our words be never cold. So take my gift of silver and wear my ring of gold. So take my gift of silver and wear my ring of gold.
How many roads must a man walk down before he's called a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before he sleeps in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it's washed in the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? How many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths will it take
wide, I can't cross over, nor do I have light wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row, my love and I. A ship there is, and sails the sea. She's loaded deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in, and I know not how I sink or swim. Like a gem, when first it's new, but love grows old and waxes cold and fades away like the morning dew. Wide, I can't cross over, nor do I have light wings to fly. Build me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row, my love and I.
be merry, so cold and so strange. In his heart she could find no place. He knew I would be his bride, with a kiss for a lifetime fee. But I was nothing to him, and he was the world to me. Now in his palace grand, on a flower-strewn bed he lies. His beautiful lips are closed on his sad, dark, beautiful eyes. And among the mourners who mourn, why should I a mourner be? For I was nothing to him, and he was the world to me. For I was nothing to him, and he was the world to me.
see the oxen pull and slip. Timmer-o, timmer-o, timmer-idey-o, timmer-o, timmer-o, timmer-idey-o, 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 timmer-o, timmer-o, timmer-idey-o. When I get home among my friends, that's where my toil and trouble ends. Bid adieu to the whip and line, and drive no more in the winter time. Timmer-o, timmer-o, timmer-idey-o, timmer-o, timmer-o, timmer-idey-o, timmer-idey-o.
Welcome everybody. My name is Dot Stenges. It's my great privilege to lead this service today as we remember the life of Ina Panting. Following the service here, you are invited to the graveside at Balclutha Cemetery, where Ina will be interred with her late husband George in the RSA section. And following that, there will be refreshments served back here in the lounge. If you don't wish to go to the cemetery, you're welcome to remain here in the lounge until everyone returns, and that will be approximately 45 minutes. We have some apologies and messages from people who were unable to attend today. Richard Stenges, Christine Donovan, Ina's granddaughter in Australia, Julie McNutt, her partner Brendan, Cooper and Maya. Ina's granddaughter in Nelson, Claire McNutt, her partner Matt and Jacob and Liam. Greg and Kirsten, Ina's grandchildren in Australia, Pat Panting, Phil Donovan, Sammy Kent, Leslie Keach, Philip and Colleen Slagter, Heather and Doug Upston, and Karen the volunteer from Holmdene. I have a message to read. Our thoughts and memories are with you all. I have no doubt Mother has her elbows on the tabletop already and is enjoying telling stories with the other publicans of years past. Most kind regards from the Williams family, ex-Oak Tree Inn, Clinton. That's from Lee and Christine Williams. Ina Evelyn Panting was born in Te Kuiti on the 29th of May 1922 to Leslie Wilson and his wife Gladys, née Old. Not long before Ina was born, her mother complained of a sore throat, which was not thought to be serious at the time. However, following Ina's birth, her condition deteriorated and she was taken to Hamilton Hospital, where she died on August the 1st, 1922. Ina, then aged 2 months old, was taken to her maternal grandmother's home on a farm at Mahanui, where she was cared for with the help of her Auntie Grace. During this time, her father would quite often ride miles to visit her regularly. At approximately 4 years old, Ina's father brought her to Otago to visit relatives who lived in the Dunedin area and in the Kilmog. Ina believed that her father was encouraged by his family to return south permanently at this time, and he did so later, taking Ina with him, which naturally upset her grandmother in Mahanui. During her first 6 months in the south, she stayed for short times with several aunts before going to stay with her great-uncle and aunt in the Kilmog. Their 2 sons were a few years older than Ina, and she recalls looking upon them like brothers. She was very fond of the family and later returned there for holidays. Around the time of her 4th birthday, Ina went to live with her father's aunt and uncle, Jean and William Corston, in Enderley Street, Milton. They had no family of their own and were very kind and loving towards Ina. Her uncle was the caretaker at the Presbyterian church, mowing the vast lawns with a push mower and bringing home bags of leaves in autumn to make compost. On Sundays, he rang the church bell before services began, and on other occasions, such as when King George V died. On hindsight, Ina realised that they probably went without many things themselves in order to give more to her. These were the Depression years, and while many people suffered great hardship, Ina said she was well fed from their large vegetable garden and fruit trees. Clothes were usually hand-me-downs or remade from other clothes. As Ina grew older, she became aware of the hardships many people suffered at that time and very much appreciated what she had been given. Her father worked around the Patearoa area, and she was lucky to see him maybe 3 or 4 times each year. As a young girl, Ina recalled not worrying much about what she wore, but she really hated having to wear boots to school in the winter. And even when she was an infant, in the infant's room, she really hated those boots. Nancy and Isabel Patrick were friends of Ina's, and she was allowed to go and play with them. They were fortunate to have an aunt who Ina described as having a bottomless purse. They seemed to be brought gifts which were beyond the reach of most other families. These gifts included a doll's pram with a folding hood, just like a real baby pram, and a big baby-sized celluloid doll. Naturally, Ina asked Santa Claus to bring her one too. A pram came for Christmas, but it just wasn't quite as smart as the other one. Despite this, Ina said she spent many happy hours playing with it and her dolls, one of which was a doll she called Peter, but dressed like a girl anyway. Peter was her favourite doll, despite having one arm held together with sticking plaster and a few other war wounds. At about age 12, a push bike arrived for her. It had belonged to her uncle's sister, and he had checked it over and put on new tyres. Ina sanded the rust off the rims and painted the frame, and she thought she was just absolutely it when she had that bike. It was very special. Visiting family friends often involved walking several miles out of town on gravel roads. This was known as taking Shanks's pony. The lovely farmhouse teas which were served made the walk worthwhile for a young Ina. When Ina was 16 and a half, her father remarried and had a further 2 daughters. He was later killed in a work accident at the Snowdrift Lime Works at Milton in 1942 when Ina was just 20. Primary school for Ina began with a slate and a slate pencil, graduating later to books and lead pencils. Blackboard and chalk were used to practice spelling and printing. She recalls that they made things from plasticine, played with coloured wooden beads, and made things from raffia and coloured paper. Games such as Tiggy Tiggy Touchwood, hopscotch, skipping, marbles, and spinning tops were played outside. If it was raining, they played Puss in the Corner in the school play shed. No electronic devices were needed in those days. Ina loved school and did well in her exams, which were taken every term prior to holidays. Ina attended high school in Balclutha, travelling there by train. While she said she never excelled at any sport, she enjoyed the camaraderie of team sport and played hockey, tennis, badminton, and basketball, now known as netball. Ina's interest in handwork such as knitting, sewing, tapestry, and embroidery started with sewing classes when she was in Standard 1. This interest continued throughout her life, and she was seldom seen without some work in progress. On leaving school, Ina did some short-term shop work before going to Lawrence Hospital to start nurse aiding. It was her goal to train as a qualified nurse in Dunedin Hospital when she reached 18, as she was required to be to begin. In payment, she got her keep and £3 per month. She was very disappointed when a foot injury finished her dream of becoming a nurse. Following this, she took a course in dressmaking before joining the staff at the Bank of New Zealand in Milton. She worked there for 5 years. During this time, Ina met and became engaged to George Panting. They married on the 20th of June 1945, while George was on 14 days final leave before being posted to Fiji. They made the decision to get married on the 12th of June, so had 8 days to organise it. As they were already engaged, much of the wedding preparations had already been made. They had a small wedding with 25 guests. The day of their wedding dawned with what Ina called a real snorter South Otago frost, but the day did turn out sunny. The following Tuesday, George left on the train to Burnham and eventually was transferred to Fiji. Ina continued to work at the bank until he returned in November 1945 to begin work on the railways. Families soon followed: Alan in 1946, Brian in 1948, and Russell in 1950. Then 2 daughters, Edna and Glenda, whose birth years I'm not going to reveal. People were versatile in those years. Ina and George raised poultry and sold eggs as well. Ina would sell hens she had plucked and dressed by hand to her regular customers. Ultimately, George began to work for the Clutha Licensing Trust, and in 1963 the family moved to Lawrence, where they worked as managers of the Coach and Horses Inn for 3.5 years, then returning to Milton to manage the White Horse Inn, and then to Balclutha to the South Otago Hotel. During this time, Ina recalled meeting many varied and interesting people, including 2 Governors-General and their wives. When 10 o'clock closing came into being on Friday and Saturday nights, they decided that was not what they wanted to do. They packed up their caravan and headed north for a working holiday, with the intention of catching up with some of Ina's maternal relatives. However, on reaching Blenheim, they both found work, sold the caravan and bought a house, staying in Blenheim for 28 years. During this time, Ina worked in a corner dairy and latterly was in charge of the canteen at what would later be known as Tally's Vegetable Factory. Retirement left the always busy Ina with time on her hands. So she did seasonal work for a number of years, picking and grading fruit. Ina's love of people and her social nature meant she enjoyed all of this work, which brought her into contact with people from all walks of life. After that 28 years, they sold up and moved south again to be closer to family, living in Harrington Point and then moving back to Balclutha in 2006. Ina wrote down her life story, and her son Alan arranged for it to be printed. Most of the information I have shared with you here has come from that book. And there's a special wee piece I would like to share with you now, and this is a quote from Ina. She said, "I have been very lucky in more ways than one, and to have lived so many years does not seem really right, and I wonder where the time has gone. May you all be as blessed, and may happiness be with you all." I think that sums Ina up very well. Grateful for the life she had and always thinking of others. My personal connection with Ina began through my friendship with her daughter Edna. When Ina came to visit Edna in Portobello, she liked nothing more than a wine with the girls and a good old chin wag. She was always as sharp as a tack and up with the play on everything. I recall we had a curried egg afternoon after Ina told us that she always had curried eggs when George was away because he never liked them. After moving into the rest home in Balclutha, Ina had a bottle of Bailey's stashed in her wardrobe. On her last visit to Portobello, she smuggled it out like a naughty schoolgirl and shared it with us girls, and it was great. We had a good afternoon. So that's a little about Ina's life. Ina's granddaughter Carolyn Upston will now read a poem from Henry Scott Holland, "Death is Nothing."
Now, I'm the person that cries at weddings, so I'm not going to be very good at a funeral, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Nana was a realist, an adventurer, and a practical person that thought of things that other people didn't. She had planned much of her funeral, but she hadn't chosen readings, or had she? In true Nana style, we found this small book on a shelf beside her chair. She's written her name printed inside of it, and I can't help but think that maybe this reflects her thoughts. So today, I'm going to read from it. Got the shakes, might hear that too. Death is nothing at all. Death is nothing at all. I've only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which we always used. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed, at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Nana had a great sense of humour, as you all know. We had lots of laughs. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the ghost of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolutely unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind just because I am out of sight? I am just waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. There's a couple more words I just wanted to say, which I may have lost. I know. People were the most important thing in Nana's life. She was thoughtful, social, and friendly. She made many things for others. Everyone probably owns some knitting or a bag or something. But she also made time for others because people meant the most to her. I think that's a life lesson we could all take from her. And thank you all for being here to farewell special lady. A true one in a million. Thank you.
We're now going to have a short slide montage while we listen to music chosen especially by Ina. It's Granny's Highland Home. Following that, Ina's daughter Edna will share some memories of her mother, as will Alan.
the heather bells are blooming, just outside Granny's door. Where as laddies there we played in days of long ago, 'neath the shadow of Benbraggy and Gospie's lordly strain. How I wished that I could see my granny's heel and hair. Far away in the Highlands there stands a wee house, and it stands on the breast o' the brae, where we played as laddies there long, long ago, and it seems it was just yesterday. I can still see old Granny, a smile on her face, just as sweet as the heather dew. When I kissed her goodbye, with a tear in her eye, said, "Laddie, may God bless you." Where the heather bells are blooming, just outside Granny's door, where as laddies there we played in days of long ago, 'neath the shadow of Benbraggy and Gospie's lordly stain. How I wished that I could see my granny's heel and hair. In fancy again, as I look o'er at Tame, when we played on the low Embo shore, from Dornoch to Skelbo and round by the mound, 'twas a ramble we'd tak o'er and o'er. And oft times we'd play near the old quarry brae, where the laddies and lassies meet, and we all Granny smile to cheer all the while. We'd stroll in our wee bare feet, where the heather bells are blooming, just outside Granny's door, where as laddies there we played in days of long ago, 'neath the shadow of Benbraggy and Gospie's lordly stain. How I wished that I could see my granny's heel on a
It was really nice seeing those photos. Right. Mum, Nina, Ina, an amazing person to many, who over 100 years has left a positive impact on others wherever she was. Mum was a super mum who worked hard all her life, doing what she could to make others' lives better. Always the worker, nurse, banker, piano player, songstress, gardener, sewer, knitter, master of plucking and dressing poultry, cleaner, WDFF member, hotel manager, cafeteria manager, indoor and outdoor bowler and secretary of the bowling club, had her own horse racing betting syndicate at Portobello, all through her life of being a devoted wife, mother, nana, daughter-in-law and sister. Each of those times in her life have stories to tell, but it is clear she was never idle. She gave her best to everything selflessly. What a life, and how can one choose highlights when there were so many?
Briefly, I want to focus on these last few years after she became widowed. First priority was a mum-sized car, which gave her freedom and independence until at 101 she chose to give up her licence as she did not want to cause harm to anyone. Next was her bucket list, which she ticked off with enthusiasm. First up was travel to the North Island and revisit her roots and last surviving relations. Top priority was a visit to her mother's grave, which she had never been to, in Pupu, just south of Te Kuiti, following which she had the gravestone restored after seeing it neglected and wanting to do her mother proud. She then, with her sister Thelma, proceeded to do the same of their father's gravestone at Merton. She booked a seat on a bus tour of the North Island, which took her to Cape Reinga and back, seeing many landmarks for the first time in her life. Next on her list was a trip to Stewart Island and travel on the Transalpine train from Christchurch to Greymouth. Following this came a flight in a small aeroplane over the Milton area, which she had been brought up. Flying high was what she did, not one to let the grass grow under her feet. She often took days away, staying with family. Mum was modern and was quite adept with all she could do with a cell phone. Texting was her specialty, and she really was as sharp as a tack on most things. She loved nothing better than a good social life and loved to go out for meals with her neighbours, who had become very good friends. Attended Sunday club at Portobello with her group of friends there, and be a part of local groups and church, which she attended regularly before giving up driving. Through all this, Mum suffered lots of health issues, but mostly back pain as a consequence of a fall in her 80s. Last year she chose to go into rest home care as she was aware it was becoming unsafe for her to live alone. Life changed not much. She continued to have time away with family, dine out, have her daily glass of wine, go on weekly outings, make friends, and help others in the rest home who were not as able as she was. Do puzzles in the daily paper, knit little teddies, penguins, little people, of which she had knitted hundreds. So hundreds of shopping bags for friends and charities. Read books and have a fulfilling life, always keeping in touch with her family. Until 10 days ago, she was enjoying every day with family and friends. While sitting with Mum in her last days and nights, I picked up her knitting bag and could see she had something on the go. Carolyn said she was knitting her hand warmers, so I took the bag and thought I'll have a look and see what they are. I took up the needles and told Carolyn they must be completed. As I sat there clacking away, I struggled a bit with the needles. And Carol and I had a giggle about them. As you can see, they are far from straight, indicating Mum had probably knitted a few kilometres of wool on them. Mum's knitting bag travelled everywhere with her. She couldn't sit idle, and many garments were made on the road between Balclutha and Blenheim, or Blenheim and Balclutha, whichever way they were going. So I have here her knitting bag, and I'm going to place it on its last journey because Mum never went anywhere without it. What a huge, selfless life she lived. What an inspiration she has been. We have lost one of life's true treasures. Mum, you have more than earned a rest. Much love, respect and admiration goes with you.
For those of you who don't recognise me, I'm Alan. Being the eldest of the clan, there comes a certain amount of responsibility and privilege to speak. Some of what I'm going to say is repetition a little bit of what Edna has said already, but I want to place it into context. Mum's life was built on commitment and love, and this was superimposed on an underlying free spirit. And that free spirit, you'll see, came out in the photograph of Mum when she was a bank teller. A pretty outstanding looking young woman, and there are other photographs showing that she dressed fit to kill. So she really took advantage of it. She was an outgoing, smart lady. My arrival into this world when Mum was 24 years old was the beginning of her lifetime commitment to and love for her family. The brood would increase fivefold over the next decade. Given the needs of an increasing family and the purchase of a house and land on Back Road, Milton, my father's relatively low New Zealand Railways income was obviously inadequate. So Mum was soon supplementing this with taking on dressmaking, cleaning houses on a regular basis. Alongside helping develop a poultry farm and adequately feed 7 hungry people, Mum's free minutes were spent knitting jerseys, sewing shirts, trousers and dresses for the family. Despite the many challenges she faced over the next 20 years, she was committed to ensuring that each of her children had the opportunity to develop through good education, sport and music. I personally benefited immensely through being given the opportunity to follow Mum as a pupil at South Otago High School, and I was encouraged to participate actively in sport, particularly cricket and rugby. Some 65 years following lessons, I continue to obtain enjoyment through the playing of the piano, rather badly I have to say, and my attempt at remembrance could not match what we heard this morning, earlier this afternoon. Subsequent generations have received equal support and love. Birthdays and Christmas were always commemorated with a card and some personal gift. Now, always subservient to the wishes of my rather patriarchal father, at the age of 95 years, Mum shook off the shackles when he died. So with the purchase of a smaller car, and she began much wider participation in community activities. As Edna said, a bucket list was established with subsequent adventures on the Transalpine Express, visiting Stewart Island, a somewhat rough boat trip on one occasion, train travel on the main trunk line to Hamilton, caving at Te Anau. She was a little bit apprehensive about the caving, but we said, look, if you can't stoop quite low enough because of your back, we will simply lay you on the ground and drag you through feet first. So with that, she was quite happy to participate, and I think she really quite enjoyed the exercise. She travelled on the ski gondola, as you saw, to the top of Cadrona, undertook an independent bus tour around the North Island, 2-week trip at the age of 98, and then at the age of 100 decided that an aircraft flight over a South Otago patch would be a good thing to do. So that was the underlying free spirit, being released from the age of 95, doing the sort of things that she was always capable of doing. The sewing machine and knitting needles retained pride of place as she manufactured hundreds of shopping bags made up from scraps of material, and she knitted everything from elaborate fine wool jerseys to the simple teddy bears and little birds and things that you saw earlier on this afternoon. Mum has set each of us an example for living well. Keep active, read the ODT and complete the crossword. Knit and sew for others and enjoy company, socialise. If each of us acquire just some of these qualities, we will have gained much. She was strongly supported in this activity and her independent living by Glenda, Carolyn and Zara in particular, and also her wonderful neighbours, Graham and Beverly and Diane. And on behalf of the family, I want to thank each of them most sincerely. In addition, I wish to record our grateful thanks to the district nurses, the home care team, who were much appreciated regular visitors, and finally the staff of Hondine, who provided great care over recent months, and all of whom, with great spirit, tolerated Mum's admonition and advice. Rest easy, Mum. You've been a wonderful mother and a role model for each of us. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to have a few words? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Marion Selwood, and unfortunately I didn't get to say goodbye to Ina. I also work at Home Dean, and we became quite good friends. And those of you who knew Ina very well would know that she was quite careful about who she decided to friendship with. And the first night I met her, I took her a cup of Milo, and I was told to knock on the door, wait, and see if I got invited in. And if I did, I was to ask where I was to put the Milo and then leave, making sure that I shut the door completely before I left that area, which I duly did. I had never laid eyes on her in my life, and she'd never met me either. So I did as I was asked, took the Milo in and said who I was, and I said, and I'll shut your door on the way back and I'll come back and get your empty cup later. And she sort of had her head on the side and she said, I haven't seen you before. You look like you might be quite sensible, she said. And I sort of thought, I said, I hope so. She said, well, you can come in. Oh no, she said, not now. She said, come back when I finish my Milo and we'll talk. So, you try and please people. So I went away and came back about half an hour later, and she knocked on the door, waited, and she said, oh, I thought you'd forgotten. So she told me to come in and shut the door behind me, because otherwise people just think they can walk in whenever they like. And so, we swapped names and what we'd done through our lives. And she said to me, you must be the oldest person here and probably by far the most sensible. And I said, well, definitely I'm the oldest person here, I think, on staff. Sensible, I'm not quite sure. But we got to know each other, and she was busy, I think she was knitting or making the wee teddy bear. And I said to her, gosh, you're so clever. And I saw a sewing machine as well. I said, do you sew as well? Oh, yes, she said, you've got to fill the days in and be productive. She said, I'm sure you would have sewn and knitted when you were younger and bringing up your family. I said, I didn't even know how to thread a sewing machine. My husband bought me a sewing machine when I was 20, and I wanted a hairdryer. So I made him give the sewing machine to his mother. And I said, I never learnt to sew. She was quite horrified, but she felt it was a bit late to teach me. So we used to have lots of discussions. Now, I'm sure you all know this. Ina liked to, and you said about the horses, which explains why she liked to haggle. So she would haggle over things, and I have, great-grandchildren, as many of us do here, and she was so talented, and I asked her if she'd knit or make me 2 of the dolls, and I'd pay her for them. Rubbish. I had to go to the warehouse and get some little boxes, and that would do. And I thought to myself, no, it won't. So I took $30 for the first doll. The next morning, apparently she gave it back to one of the carers to give to that woman. And the next afternoon, when I went back, and she said, "Did you get your money?" And I said, "Yes, I've got it in my pocket, and I'll leave it here when I leave the room. I don't want the money." This went on for 4 days. And so finally on the 4th day I said, "I'm not coming back into your room. We're going to argue about this all the time. Take the money." I'm not taking this much money. So then we haggled until we agreed a price of $22. And as you can guess, it was Ina who had the last say, certainly not me. She was absolutely horrified that I didn't know how to sew. She could not believe that anyone, female or male, could not master the art of sewing. And I said, well, I can do embroidery. Well, what use is that, she said. It won't put clothes on your back. I suppose our relationship was one of probably professional friendships, shall we say, but also we could just talk about life and share experiences, and probably I was that person on staff that could do that with her. She controlled the dining room brilliantly. In the evening at tea, which is the only time I ever was in the dining room, Ina would be in charge of telling people, one, no, you don't sit there. Remember, you sit here. There's your name. And making sure that they sat in the right place. If the food wasn't quite up to scratch, she... No, don't hide it. Don't hide your face. You should be proud of her. If the food wasn't up to scratch, she'd want to know who the cook was and why were they expected to eat this food, which a lot of the time was not as hot perhaps as it should be. And it's not easy to have bulk cooking and get it out to everyone at the same time and it remain hot. So, you know, Ina had a system really where the people in the middle around her, either side of the table, they got their food first. And it was hot. And then the furthest away ones at the end got theirs second. I mean, Ina, and if that didn't happen, if somebody came in and started giving meals at the furthest end first, she would tell them, no, you don't, no, you need to be delivering here. But not only that, she was such a great mentor and support person for all the other residents in that facility. She really was. She kept her eye on everything. Something wasn't right, Ina would be there to try and fix it. I think people living at Homedene were extremely lucky to have somebody like Ina looking out for them. I miss her. Last night I went to work and it was my first night back. And I went into the dining room and somebody said something and I turned around because I actually thought it was Ina. But you know, there's a gap. We talk about the circle of life, and when somebody goes and leaves it, there's an empty space. Well, I think it's fair to say there is an empty space where she has been. But we are so lucky, and you as a family are so lucky to have had her in your lives for so long. So thank you for sharing her.
Good afternoon. I'm Dawn MacDonald and I grew up on the Kilmog. And my grandma, Albertina Rose, was a Panting. She married my granddad, John MacDonald, and my dad, Jack, and George were cousins. I remember as a child visiting Ina and George at Evansdale, and when older, visited them when they managed taverns in Lawrence, Milton and Balclutha. When I married, I lost touch, and it was when I saw that she had turned 100 and found out she lived here in Balclutha. So I set out to find her. So the next time I was driving through from Invercargill, I visited her. I saw her through the window, busy at her sewing machine. I had my dad and mum's wedding photo and said, "You probably won't remember me, but you may recognise the people in this photo." She took a look and she said, "That's Jack and Betty MacDonald, and there's my George." He was my dad's best man, and he was in uniform in the wedding photo. So she wanted to know all about us MacDonalds, and where we were, what we were doing, how many grandchildren there were, etc. And she also said that Brian was doing a painting family tree, which my sister Ruth was helping with, and gave me a copy of what she had thus far. She asked me to make the changes, and I left with it, and also a couple of her little sewing bags. Next time I called in, I gave her our side of the updated tree. I would call in and see her on my way through to Dunedin, texting first to see if she was home. And the last time I visited her was on New Year's Day, to wish her a Happy New Year. She was now in a rest home and showed me a cushion she had just made, and I remarked, "You still sewing?" and was informed by Russell and Jackie that her sewing machine was one of the first things that had to be set up in her room. She handed me the last updated Panting family tree and asked me to take it home and make sure the McDonald's side was all correct. I photocopied the pages that required amendments, posted it back, texting her it was in the mail. She sent a text back telling me she'd received it and thanked me for the corrections and that she would add it to hers. She'd sent me quite a few texts, and because she had taken interest in my family and that she had played bowls, and she knew my sister Ethel's son Martin Kreft was over in England playing bowls for New Zealand, and so I'd let her know how he was getting on, and I got a text back, "Roll out the red carpet when he gets back," because he actually did very well. I'm so thankful she had taken an interest in our side of the family. Even though it's only been in the last 18 months that we have been in touch, it has been a memorable experience. To the Panting extended families, I and my siblings offer our sincere condolences of your loss of a lovely, delightful lady. Thank you.
Please remain seated now while we have a short time of reflection and listen to another of Ina's choices of music, How Great Thou Art.
O Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider the works thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Facadium
just like to remind you all now that if you don't wish to attend the cemetery, you're welcome to stay in the lounge here, and in approximately 45 minutes the people from the cemetery will return. I'm going to read a little poem now, A Time for Everything. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to stop searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Thank you.
I am weak, but thou art strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. I'll be satisfied as long as I walk. Let me walk close to thee. Just a closer walk with thee. Just a closer walk. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Just a closer walk. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be.
And when my feeble life is o'er, and time for me will be no more, guide me gently, safely, oh, to thy kingdom shore, to thy shore.
Just a closer walk with thee. Just a closer walk. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Just a closer walk. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Just a closer walk with I am weak, but thou art strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong.
It's my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be.
And when my feeble life is o'er, and time for me will be no more, guide me gently, safely, oh, to thy kingdom shore, to thy shore.
Just
It's down, it's really tough. Yeah.
Are they on their good side? Okay. You've got it sorted. What down is it out? Let's sort it out. It's going to be windy, but I'm quite
Just pull it right.
Now let go of the lip after, and we'll just pop them down and drop it a little bit. Just pop them down. You can go back the way you come in nice and close so you can hear everyone.
This poem is a lovely reminder that Ina lives on around all of us still. Do not stand at my grave and weep, I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
Full beer.
I've been there.
Oh, you've been here before? Okay, so that concludes the burial service. So you're more than welcome to head back to the reception lounge for refreshments and a cup of tea. Thank you. You've been pretty sure.
I think she was fed up with it. She just stopped it. Yeah. Oh, yes, it's all sitting in the zone, you know, when you look at the national I know it's so bright, it's like reports and we see the and she kept on you know, they were originally keychains. Yes. And she got them in Morocco on there. Yes. Oh, and God, because I've still got the jacket from Christchurch. Listen, let Carmot want to get out, I reckon.
So what are you guys doing now? You've got rid of the... it's only Alan.
Doing better.
He can wait. Alan can wait. Great. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think I could. You better go yeah, big wing. Yeah.
No, not that.
It's a different world, it's just saying, yeah, set aside that you're only going to put a thing in. It's keep family and small things, whereas this generation needs